Protect your DNA. BioPQQ can promote formation of new mitochondria. Infowarsstore.com.
Now, in recent weeks, we've been witnessing some shocking videos coming out of Europe with this migrant crisis. And it really seems that they're being exploited on both sides. Not only are they being exploited by the governments who are using them to push the welfare state and expand the size and scope of government, but they're also being exploited by the smugglers who are bringing them in. Now we have some shocking stories coming out about Facebook pages setting up like their travel agencies, luring these migrant families to their deaths. They're promising them luxury yachts and safe travel across the Mediterranean. And of course, we have seen time and time again, these boats capsize over. They promise them these beautiful yachts are going to escort their families. They don't tell them that there's going to be hundreds of people packed like sardines on these boats. And of course, these traffickers are just brazenly advertising their services on Facebook. They haven't been pulled. They haven't been taken down. As well, we were also reporting about an explosive document that was released by top social welfare organizations in Germany that are basically exposing the fact that migrants at refugee camps are raping women and children. They're also allegedly forcing women into prostitution. So there's no safeguards for anyone here. They're just being thrown into FEMA camps, essentially, yes, or prisons, and actual Nazi prison camps in some circumstances. So obviously, David, this is incredibly horrendous. What did they think was going to happen? What good could come out of flooding countries with foreigners with absolutely no plan for assimilation, or for what they were going to do with them? I mean,
well, it's a horrific humanitarian situation, of course, and we all are sympathetic to what's going on there. The question is, what can we do to help this? How can we stop the cause of this? And of course, the cause of this goes back to American foreign policy, to the actions that we've taken. This is something that's been going on. It's been announced for a very long time. Wesley Clark told us there was a list of countries that they were going to go through. Syria was part of that. We were fighting here at Infowars the false flags, the sarin gas attacks, trying to justify going in and invading Syria. We've seen John McCain meeting with the now leaders of ISIS. We called him out on that as meeting with terrorists. Now that has been proven. But there's another aspect of this, Leanne, and that, of course, is that we're seeing crisis after crisis throughout the West, in America as well now as in Europe. Right. This immigration crisis that's going on there, the open borders that are happening here, these are crises where we're going to have the integrity of the various countries is going to be an issue. It's going to be a divide and conquer. They're not, as you pointed out, not being assimilated. There's not the ability to assimilate that many people. But also we see with the immigration coming into the United States, people are coming in, multiple languages. We're seeing school districts that are having to have dozens of different languages taught in their school districts. It would be something that would cost many of us our homes because we can't afford the property taxes if we were just to educate the people coming in English. But we have to provide customized education for this. We're not able to do that. But there's another aspect of this. And I think if we look at this aspect of it, we understand that this is a crisis, a manufactured crisis, and a solution that they're offering on the back end of this.
Order out of chaos.
Yes, exactly. For a very long time, and we've always pointed this out with the Bilderberg meeting and these other globalist organizations, they've been working on consolidating into regional groups, Europe, America, North America, Asia. Now they're going to consolidate these with the trade partnerships. One of the ways that we can see this, of course, is now the calls for a European army. We saw the economic crisis with Greece, the banking crisis there. Many were saying we're going to have to give up sovereignty in order to solve this. Alan Greenspan was saying that. The head of the largest bond holders was saying that. But earlier this year, we haven't really covered this much at Infowars, but now this has accelerated. The calls for the European army have accelerated. It's coming from Germany. Just like we see Germany running this banking crisis in Greece and Portugal and Italy, Ireland, Spain, that sort of thing. They are now pushing for a European army. Going back to March, the Wall Street Journal pointed out, and this is the defense minister of Germany. Her name is Ursula von der Leyen. She said, "I'm convinced that a European army or European defense union can be created as a logical consequence of European integration." She said, Europe will only stay politically relevant in the future if we're able to complement our economic power and our political influence with a truly coherent security and defense policy. And so you have to ask yourself, if they're going to have a European army, who will finance that army? It's going to be financed with a European tax regime. We're talking about a consolidation into the United States of Europe. They have an army. If they have a tax regime, they've already got a parliament. They will need more power for that parliament. So what we're seeing here is a rapid consolidation. And who is in control? It's Germany.
Wow.
And I think it's very interesting to go back and look at the origins of Bilderberg. It was Bilderberg 60 years ago where they were talking, we see the notes of the very first meeting, they're talking about a European Union, and they put forward the idea of a euro, which was unique creation of the first ones to talk about it was at Bilderberg. We'll look at where this is today. We see just this week, Angela Merkel orders Cameron to support plans for an EU army in exchange for EU negotiation talks. That's the headline from the Express out of the UK. They say the Prime Minister is to be told that Germany would support his bid to renegotiate the terms of Britain's EU membership if he accepts moves to create a European military force. In other words, there's a quid pro quo.
Right.
Okay. They know that the UK is not comfortable. There's a massive movement by Nigel Farage and others. They are also gaining strength as they see the borders, the national borders being collapsed, erased. These different groups that want to oppose the loss of sovereignty throughout Europe are now gaining in political strength. And so as a result, David Cameron wants to pull back from the European Union a bit. They never got into the euro, but they want to even pull back a little bit farther to placate the rise of popularity in UKIP. And so to do that, Angela Merkel is now the power broker, obviously, in Europe. She's saying, well, we'll only consider that if you support a European army. This is not something that is popular in Britain. There was a poll that was taken back in June, and they say they took 4,000 people. They took a poll of 4,000 people in Germany, France, and the UK. They said, well, overall, 28%. However, it didn't really break down that way. In France and Germany, it was 37 and 36% supported a European army. But in the UK, it was only 19%. It's not very popular in the UK because they have fought 2 wars against a Germany that wanted to control all of Europe. And so now it's being done gradually by stealth. This is a program that was put in, as we said, 60 years ago. And if you look at the very first Bilderberg meeting, as we pointed out when we covered Bilderberg, the very first meeting was held at the site of the last Nazi victory of World War II, Operation Market Garden. You can see it in the movie, A Bridge Too Far. And it was at the site of that victory that they held the very first meeting. And Prince Bernhard, one of the people who organized Bilderberg, was one who suggested that they have that there. He was alleged by many to have betrayed the secretive operation that caused its failure at that point in time. So this is something that has a very long history. It looks to me like the Fourth Reich, but it is all part of the globalist reunification, what Zbigniew Brzezinski, Henry Kissinger, and others have been working on for the last 60 years.
Right, and they're going to make this happen no matter what. Obviously, huge anti-immigration rallies all throughout Europe.
Yes.
And so now they're basically forcing their hand and saying, well, we can't. I mean, look at this crisis.
Crisis and solution.
People.
They had the solution for
Absolutely.
60 years.
Yeah, I mean, that is just incredible. So I hope that you're going to really kind of delve more into that so we can really break that down here at Infowars, because you're right. She is kind of coming out now as the power broker in the region.
Political union through economic crisis and through demographic crisis and an army and a taxing system.
Wow.
And Germany is on top of it.
Well, that's absolutely incredible. Well, thank you so much, David. Now, everyone stick around. Joe Biggs will be joining me in the coming up later on in the show. We're going to break down the Trump show. You know, Biggs, he was kind of on the fence there with Donald Trump. Everyone seems to like what he has to say until you actually get to sit in the audience with him and hear what he doesn't actually say. But first up, we're going to break down a little bit further what this migrant crisis is really all about and what they're not telling you. So stick around, because all of that and more is coming right up.
Brain Force is here. Ladies and gentlemen, I've been on this the last few months. You probably noticed I've been more crazed, more focused, less brain fog, more energy, more special reports, and it's because of Brain Force.
One of the worst things with most energy products is it's not sustainable, right? You're gonna crash afterwards. This has a bunch of different antioxidants and compounds and polyphenols.
Everybody's on these drugs to knock their brain out because the brain's so fried.
We kept changing this formula over and over and over again until it became sort of a grand puzzle. For example, the L-theanine inside of it, that is activated by the different compounds in the yerba mate that we put inside of it as well. This just increases the compounds you already have.
This is what you're actually designed to run on.
Exactly.
It's kind of like a car will run on one form of junkie gas, but it runs really good on what it's designed for.
Still damaging your brain.
You will find Brain Force, Survival Shield X2, and other game-changing products at InfoWarsLife.com or call 888-253-3139.